My girlfriend cheated on me with my brother and lied about being a virgin when we decided to give our relationship another chance. Now I make her pay for what she did. Hey Reddit. This story spans years of my life, but it feels like a lifetime's worth of lessons compressed into a chaotic mess. I've always been the kind of person who believes in loyalty and trust above all else. Maybe that's why what Lisa did to me cut so deep. I met Lisa during my senior year of college. She was different from anyone I'd ever met, sweet, shy, and incredibly intelligent. I was drawn to her immediately, and after months of getting to know each other, we finally started dating. From the beginning, Lisa was very clear about her boundaries. She told me she wanted to wait until she was sure I was the one before taking that next step in our relationship. I respected her for it, and honestly, it only made me fall for her harder. For the first year, our relationship was amazing. We were that couple everyone envied, the kind that looked like they were made for each other. I was happy, truly happy, and I thought she was too. But looking back, there were red flags. I ignored moments when she seemed distant or overly secretive about small things. I chalked it up to her needing personal space, not realizing it was the beginning of the storm. The betrayal happened on a random Friday night. I'll never forget the moment I walked into my parents' house and saw my brother, Mark, sitting way too close to Lisa on the couch. At first, I didn't think much of it. Mark is a natural flirt, and Lisa always said she found his humor annoying. But when Lisa saw me, she froze. That's when I knew something was wrong. Later that evening, I went looking for her and found her in the backyard with Mark. They were standing way too close, and Mark's hand was on her arm in a way that felt too intimate. I confronted them immediately, and Lisa burst into tears. She admitted they'd been seeing each other behind my back for weeks. My own brother, the guy I'd looked up to my entire life, betrayed me. I didn't even know how to process it. The rage, the humiliation, the heartbreak, it all hit me at once. I broke up with Lisa on the spot and told Mark I wanted nothing to do with him. That was the beginning of a very dark time for me. For months, I was a mess. I avoided family gatherings to keep from seeing Mark, and I ignored Lisa's constant attempts to reach out. She sent me letters, left me voicemails, and even showed up at my apartment a few times. I refused to see her. My friends told me I was better off without her, and I knew they were right, but it didn't make the pain go away. 6 months after the breakup, Lisa cornered me at a mutual friend's party. I didn't even know she'd be there, but suddenly, there she was, looking like she'd been through hell. She begged me to hear her out. I didn't want to cause a scene, so I stepped outside with her. That's when she broke down and told me how much she regretted what happened. She said it was a mistake, that she was going through a rough time and Mark had manipulated her. I didn't buy it at first. Mark may be a lot of things, but he's not manipulative. Still, part of me wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that the girl I fell in love with wasn't capable of intentionally hurting me. Against my better judgment, I decided to give her another chance. We laid everything out on the table. I told her I needed total honesty from her moving forward, no more lies, no more secrets. She agreed and promised she'd do whatever it took to make things right. I wanted to believe her, but deep down, a part of me knew it wouldn't be that simple. Things were rocky from the start. I was constantly on edge, wondering if she was hiding something else. I tried to trust her, but every time she got a text or stepped out of the room to take a call, my mind went to the worst possible place. I hated feeling that way, but I couldn't help it. Then came the second bombshell. About 3 months into our reconciliation, Lisa and I were having a deep conversation about our future. She brought up the topic of intimacy again, saying she was ready to take that step with me. That's when she casually mentioned that she had been with someone else before me. I froze. I asked her to clarify, and she admitted that she wasn't a virgin when we started dating. She'd lied to me about it because she thought it would make me see her as more worthy of a serious relationship. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything we'd been through, after all her promises of honesty, she had lied to me again. It wasn't the fact that she wasn't a virgin that bothered me, it was the lie. It felt like I couldn't trust anything she said. I started to question everything. Was she really sorry about what happened with Mark? Was she still hiding things from me? At that point, I was ready to walk away for good. But then a different part of me took over, the part that wanted revenge. I told myself that if she wanted to prove her loyalty, I'd give her the chance. But it wouldn't come without a price. I started testing her in subtle ways. If she said she was going out with friends, I'd ask for photos or casually drop by to see if she was where she said she'd be. If she made plans with me and then canceled, I'd act distant and make her feel guilty about it. I wanted her to feel the same uncertainty and doubt she'd made me feel. I know it sounds toxic, and maybe it is, but I couldn't help myself. I felt like I needed to take control of the situation, to make her understand the pain she caused me. Lisa, to her credit, never complained. She went along with everything, apologizing profusely whenever I pointed out her mistakes. One time, she was 5 minutes late to meet me for dinner, and I spent the entire evening subtly bringing it up. I'd say things like, "I guess time management isn't your strong suit," or "I was starting to think you weren't coming." She looked so guilty that I almost felt bad, but only almost. Another time, she posted a photo on Instagram from a night out with her friends. I noticed a guy in the background who looked a little too friendly, so I asked her about him. She insisted he was just a friend of a friend, but I kept pressing her until she got upset. In the end, she deleted the photo and apologized for making me uncomfortable. Over time, Lisa became more and more focused on trying to make me happy. She'd plan elaborate dates, write me heartfelt letters, and constantly reassure me of her love. Part of me appreciated the effort, but another part of me felt like it wasn't enough. How could she ever make up for what she did? Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to end the relationship. I told myself I needed closure, that I needed to see how far she was willing to go to earn my forgiveness. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't staying because I wanted to fix things. I was staying because I wanted her to suffer the way I had. Looking back, I can see how toxic this cycle has become. I don't know if I'll ever truly forgive Lisa, and I don't know if she'll ever be able to fix the damage she caused. But for now, this is where we are, a relationship built on broken trust and mutual pain. Sometimes I wonder if I'm the bad guy in this story. Am I wrong for holding on to the anger, for making her pay for her mistakes? Or is this just the natural consequence of betrayal? I honestly don't know anymore. All I know is that I'm still here, and so is she. Maybe that means something. Or maybe it means we're both too damaged to let go. What would you do in my shoes? Would you keep trying, or would you walk away? Update. It's been almost a year since I wrote my original post, and to say things have been complicated would be an understatement. I've spent this time wrestling with my emotions, trying to figure out if I should stay with Lisa or finally let go. I thought giving her a second chance would bring clarity, but instead, it has brought even more confusion and resentment. After my post, Lisa stumbled across my journal. I've always been a private person, and writing has been my outlet for dealing with everything that's happened. I hadn't explicitly written about my feelings of revenge, but there were enough clues to make Lisa question what was really going on. She confronted me one evening, holding my journal and crying. She asked if I had ever forgiven her or if I was just punishing her for her mistakes. I froze. I didn't know what to say because, deep down, I knew the answer wasn't one she wanted to hear. I told her I wasn't ready to forgive her, but I still cared about her and wanted to work on rebuilding trust. That was only partially true. The reality is, I've been holding on to the past like a weapon. I wanted her to feel what I felt, to wake up every day with the same sense of betrayal that haunted me. Lisa didn't press the issue further that night, but the tension between us became unbearable after that. Lisa has tried everything to prove her loyalty. She cut ties with most of her old friends, deleted her social media accounts, and even switched jobs because one of her coworkers made me feel uneasy. It's like she's trying to erase any part of her life that could make me suspicious. At first, I felt vindicated seeing her go to such extremes, but over time, it started to feel hollow. Watching her bend over backward to win my trust didn't bring the satisfaction I thought it would. Instead, it made me question why I was still holding on to this relationship. One night, during an argument, Lisa finally snapped. She said she couldn't keep living like this, constantly walking on eggshells and trying to make up for something she couldn't undo. She asked me if I even wanted to be with her or if I was just afraid to be alone. Her words hit me harder than I expected. Was I staying because I loved her, or was I staying because I wanted control? I didn't have an answer then, and honestly, I still don't. Another update. It's been another 6 months since my last update, and things have only gotten worse. After that argument, Lisa and I tried to make amends, but the cracks in our relationship kept widening. One of the biggest turning points came when my brother Mark tried to reach out to me. He showed up at my apartment unannounced, saying he wanted to clear the air. I hadn't spoken to him since the night I caught him with Lisa, and seeing him again brought back all the anger and pain I thought I had buried. Mark apologized, saying he had made a huge mistake and regretted everything. He said he missed having me in his life and hoped we could start fresh. I listened to him, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive him. I told him I wasn't ready and asked him to leave. When I told Lisa about the encounter, she was surprisingly supportive. She said she understood why I couldn't forgive Mark and encouraged me to focus on our relationship instead. But her reaction felt off, like she was relieved I hadn't reconciled with him. That night, I started thinking about how much of my life I'd sacrificed for this relationship. I've alienated friends and family, poured all my energy into keeping tabs on Lisa, and spent countless hours replaying the betrayal in my mind. Then something happened that completely shattered what little trust I had left. Lisa and I were planning a weekend trip, and while I was packing, I found an old burner phone in her drawer. At first, I thought it was just an old phone she had forgotten about, but when I turned it on, I found messages between her and someone saved as M. The messages were vague but suggestive enough to raise red flags. I confronted Lisa immediately, and she burst into tears, saying the messages were old and had been exchanged before we got back together. She swore she had forgotten about the phone and that nothing was happening now. I didn't believe her. The timing felt too suspicious, and my paranoia spiraled out of control. I started checking her phone, her emails, even her bank statements. I became obsessed with finding proof that she was lying again. The stress finally broke me. One night, I told Lisa I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't keep living in a constant state of suspicion and anger. She begged me to reconsider, saying she was willing to do anything to save our relationship. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I needed to put myself first. Final update. It's been a few months since Lisa and I ended things, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. The breakup wasn't easy. Lisa tried to convince me to stay, but I knew it was time to walk away. After we broke up, I went to therapy to work through my feelings. I realized that holding on to the relationship had less to do with love and more to do with my inability to let go of the past. I stayed because I wanted to control the narrative, to make her pay for what she did. But in the end, it only hurt both of us. As for my brother Mark, I'm still not ready to forgive him. He's reached out a few more times, but I've kept my distance. Maybe one day we'll be able to rebuild our relationship, but for now, I need space to heal. Looking back, I can see how toxic the situation became. Lisa and I both made mistakes, and neither of us could move past them. I don't regret giving her a second chance. It taught me a lot about myself and what I need in a relationship. But I also learned that forgiveness isn't something you can force. I'm focusing on myself now, rebuilding the parts of my life that fell apart during those years of chaos. I've reconnected with old friends, started a new hobby, and even started dating again. It's scary to open myself up to someone new, but I'm determined to leave the past behind. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is let go. Lisa and I weren't meant to be, and that's okay. We both deserve a chance to find happiness even if it's not with each other. For anyone reading this who's dealing with betrayal or heartbreak, my advice is simple: don't lose yourself in the process. You deserve better, and sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do.